Srila Prabhupada completed teachings of Lord Chaitanya in 1967, and his Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, then known as ISKCON Press, published it in 1968. In 1974, the BBT published an extensively revised editing with Sanskrit diacritical verses, uh, where diacritical marks and selected verses from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, the source book for teachings of Lord Chaitanya. For the present edition, the editors compared the two previous editions. The original manuscript is lost and restored some of the flavor of the original. In addition, they found that perhaps owing to Srila Prabhupada's heavily accented English, the uneven quality of these dictated tapes, the difficult philosophical concepts to some passages of teachings of Lord Chaitanya, the original transcribers and editors had occasionally erred. These errors, constituting less than 3% of the total text, have now been corrected so that an already perfect book has become even more perfect for its increased fidelity to Srila Prabhupada's original words and intended meaning.
Dedicated to the scared service of Sri Sachidanand Bhakti Vinoda Thakura, who initiated the teaching of Lord Chaitanya in the Western world. McGill University, Canada, in 1896, the year of my birth, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami. Teachings of Rupa Goswami. Srila Prabhu Goswami, the younger brother of Sanatana Goswami, went to Pragya, the modern city of Allahabad, with his younger brother Vallabha. When the two brothers heard that Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was staying there, they both became very much pleased and went to see the Lord. At the time, the Lord was on his way to visit the temple of Bindu Madhva. On the way to the temple, the Lord was chanting and dancing. The thousands of people were following him. Some were crying and some were laughing. Some were dancing and some were singing. And some were falling on the ground, offering obeisance to the Lord. And all of them were roar, uh, roaring the holy name Krishna Krishna. It is said that in spite of being at the confluence of the river Ganga and Yamuna, Prague was never flooded until the appearance of the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, at which time the city was overflowed by the love of Krishna. The two brothers, Rupa Goswami and Vallabha, stay aloft in an uncrowded place and witness the great crowd and wonderful scene. When the Lord danced, he raised his arms and shouted, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. The people all about all about were astonished to see his activities. Indeed, wonderful scene is difficult to describe. After visiting the temple, the Lord accepted prasadam, a food offered to the deity, at the house of designated Brahmans with whom he was acquainted. While sitting alone at the Brahman's home, the Lord was visited by Rupa Goswami and Vallabha. From a distance, the two brothers fell down on the ground to offer obeisance, and they were chanted many Sanskrit verses from the scriptures. When the Lord saw Rupa Goswami offering obeisance before him, he became very much pleased and said, "My dear Rupa, please get up." The Lord then informed Rupa Goswami of the causeless mercy of Krishna upon him, for Krishna had just delivered him from the materialistic way of life, which is based simply on pounds, shillings, pence.
Hare Krishna, can I read?
Yes, Mataji.
The Lord accepted the two brothers as his devotees, and he cited a verse from the scriptures stating that the Lord will not accept a Brahman who has studied the four Vedas if he is not a devotee, but he will accept someone from a very low family if he is a pure devotee. Then the Lord embraced the two brothers, and out of his causeless mercy, he touched their heads with his lotus feet. Blessed in this way, the brothers offered prayers to the Lord in their own words. The prayers indicated that Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Krishna himself, that he had assumed a fair complexioned form Gaurang, and that he was the most munificent incarnation of Krishna because he was distributing love of Krishna. Srila Rupa Goswami also recited a verse later found in the book Govind Lilamrit. Yo Gyan Mattam Bhuvanam Dayalur Ullagh Ullaghyan Api Akarot Pramattam Swaprem Sampat Swaprem Sampat सुधाय भूतेहम श्री कृष्ण चैतन्यम अमुम प्रपद्ये. Let me surrender unto the lotus feet of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the greatest, most merciful personality of Godhead. He delivers those who are merged in ignorance and offers them the highest gift, love of Krishna, and thus makes them mad after Krishna consciousness. After this incident, Vallabh Bhatt invited the Lord to go to the other side of the Ganges, and the Lord went on this trip. Rupa Goswami accompanied the Lord, and indeed, wherever the Lord went, Rupa Goswami would follow him and stay with him, because the Lord felt inconvenienced in crowded places. He asked Rupa Goswami to accompany him to a place on the banks of the Ganges known as the Shashwamedh Ghat. For 10 days, he instructed Rupa Goswami about the truth of Krishna, the principles of devotional services, and the transcendental laws relationship with Krishna. All of this was described in full detail so that in the future Rupa Goswami could distribute the science of Krishna in his book Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Srila Rupa Goswami described this incident in the very first verse of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, in which he speaks of causeless mercy of the Lord upon him.
The Supreme Lord is cognizant and all powerful, and by his causeless mercy, he empowers a living entity to receive his mercy. People in general, being under the spell of uh, conditioned life, are averse to rendering devotional service and practicing Krishna consciousness. They are unaware of the teaching of Krishna consciousness, which reveal one's internal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The process by which one can return to the spiritual world and the ultimate goal of life, which is to return home back to Godhead, because these things are unknown to the conditional soul. Lord Chaitanya, out of his causeless mercy, introduced Rupa Goswami in the principle of devotional service. Later, Rupa Goswami distributed this science to the people in general. In the prologue to the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Rupa Goswami described Lord Chaitanya as follows: I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya Dev, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because He has inspired me with the desire in my heart to write something about devotional service. For this reason, I am writing this book on the science of devotional, known as the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Beginning in
Beginning his 10 days of continual instruction to Rupa Goswami, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, My dear Rupa, the science of devotional service is just like the great ocean. So it is not possible to show you its entire length and breadth. But I shall try to explain the nature of that ocean by taking just one drop out of it. In this way, you can taste it and understand what the ocean of devotional service actually is. The Lord then explained that within the Brahmand or universe, there are innumerable living entities who, according to their own fruitive activities, are transmigrating from one species of life to another and from one planet to another. In this way, their engagement in material existence has continued since time immemorial. And actually, these living entities are atomic parts and parcel of the Supreme Spirit. It is said that the uh, Shvetashvara Upanishad that the length and breadth of the individual soul is 1 by 10,000 parts of the tip of a hair. The atomic magnitude of the living entity is confirmed in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, um, and in the 10th canto, in the 10th canto, and Sananda Kumar, while performing a great sacrifice, quotes the following statement by a personified Vedas. O Supreme Truth, if the living entities are not infinitesimal sparks of the Supreme Spirit, each minute each minute spirit spark would be all pervading and could not be controlled by a superior power. But if the living entity is accepted as a minute part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, one can automatically understand how he is controlled by the Supreme Power. The latter is actually is his actual constitutional position, and if he remains in that position, he can attain full freedom. If one mistakenly considers his constitutional position equal to that of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he becomes contaminated by the doctrine of non-duality, and his efforts in his transcendental life are rendered ineffective.
Lord Chaitanya continued his teachings by pointing out that there are two kinds of living entities: the eternally liberated and the eternally conditioned. The eternally conditioned living entities can be divided into two types: the moving and the non-moving. Those that remain in one place, trees, for example, are classified as sthavar or non-moving entities, and those that move, such as birds and beasts, are called jangama or moving entities. The moving entities are further divided into three categories: those that fly in the sky, those that swim in the water, and those that walk on land. Out of that many millions and trillions of living entities on land, human beings are very few. Out of that small number human beings, most are totally ignorant of the spiritual science, are unclean in their habits, and have no faith in the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In short, most human beings live like animals. Therefore, these can be
deducted from the number of human beings that constitute civilized human society. We can hardly find any human being who believe in the Vedic scriptures and existence of God, or even in proper behavior. Those who do believe in these things and in advancing in spiritual life are known as Aryans. Out of those who believe in scriptures and the advancement of human civilization, there are two classes, the righteous and the unrighteous. Those who are righteous generally execute fruitive activities to derive some good result for sense gratification. Out of many such persons who engage in righteous activities for sense gratification, only a few come to know about the absolute truth. These are called Janans, empiric philosophers in search of the absolute truth. Out of many hundreds and thousands of such empiric philosophers, only a handful actually attain liberation. When one is liberated, he theoretically understands that the living entity is not composed of material elements but a spirit soul, distinct from matter. Simply by understanding this doctrine, even theoretically, one qualifies as a mukta or liberated soul. But the actual Mukta is he who understands the constitutional position as part and parcel of Lord and his eternal servant. Such liberated soul engage with faith and devotion in the service of Lord, and they are called Krishna Bhaktas or Krishna conscious persons.
Krishna Bhaktas are free from all material desires. Although those who are theoretically liberated by knowing that the living entity is not material may be classified among liberated souls, they still have desires. Their main desire is to become one with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such persons are very much attached to performing Vedic rituals and righteous activities in order to enjoy material prosperity. Even when some of them transcend material enjoyment, they still try to enjoy in the spiritual world by merging into the existence of the Supreme Lord. Some of them also desire to attain mystic powers through the execution of yoga. As long as any of these desires are within a person's heart, he cannot understand the nature of pure devotional service and on account of constantly being agitated by desires, he is not peaceful. Indeed, as long as if any desire for material perfection is at all, one cannot be at peace. Since the devotees of Lord Krishna do not desire anything material, they are only the peaceful persons within this material world. This is confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Muktanam api siddhanam narayana parayanaha sudurlabha prasannatma Buddhishva api mahamuni. O great sage, out of many millions of liberated persons and persons who have achieved the success in mystic yoga, it is very rare to find one who is completely devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is therefore filled with peace. Lord Chaitanya then explained that out of many thousands and millions of the living entities wandering in the material world, one who by the grace of Lord Krishna and the spiritual master gets the seed of devotional service is very rare and fortunate. A pious or religious man is generally inclined to worship deities in various temples, but if by chance even without his knowledge, he offers his obeisances and worshipful respects to Lord Vishnu and receives the favor of a Vaishnava, a devotee of the Lord. At that time, he acquires the assets necessary to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is plainly understood from the history of the great sage Narada, which is related in Srimad Bhagavatam. By serving Vaishnavas in his previous life, Narad was favored by those devotees of the Lord and became the great sage Narad Muni.
Vaishnavas are generally very compassionate towards the conditioned soul. Without even being invited, a devotee will go from door to door to enlighten people, to bring them out of the darkness of nescience by imparting knowledge of living entities' constitutional position as a servant of Lord Krishna. As such devotees are empowered by Lord to distribute devotional consciousness or Krishna consciousness to the people in general. They are known as authorized spiritual masters, and it is by mercy of such a spiritual master that a conditioned soul gets the seed of devotional service. The causeless mercy of Supreme Personality of Godhead is first appreciated when one comes in touch with a bona fide spiritual master who can enlighten the conditioned soul and bring him to the highest position of devotional life. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya said that by mercy of spiritual master, one can achieve the causeless mercy of the Lord, and by mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can attain the mercy of the bona fide spiritual master. Thus, by the mercy of spiritual master and Krishna, one receives the seed of devotional service. Then one has to sow the seed in the field of his heart, just as a gardener sows the seed of a valuable tree. After sowing the seed, one has to water it by chanting and hearing the holy name of the Supreme Lord and by taking part in discussions about the science of devotional service in a society of pure devotees. When the plant of devotional service sprouts up from the seed of devotion, it begins to grow freely. When it is fully grown, it surpasses the length and breadth of this universe and enters the transcendental atmosphere of the spiritual world, where everything is bathed in the effulgence of the Brahma Jyoti. The plant penetrates even the Brahma Jyoti and gradually enters the planet known as Golok Vrindavan. There, the plant takes shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. That is the ultimate goal of devotional service. After attaining this position, the plant produces the fruit of love of Godhead. To taste this fruit, however, it is necessary for the devotee, a transcendental gardener, to water the plant daily by chanting and hearing. Unless one waters the plant by chanting and hearing, ve- there is every chance that it will dry up and die. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya said that by mercy of spiritual master, one can attain the mercy of the devotional service.
Lord Chaitanya pointed out to Rupa Goswami that there was another danger to be encountered while watering the roots of the devotional plant. After the plant has grown somewhat, an animal may come and either eat it or destroy it. When the green leaves of the plant are eaten by some animal, the plant generally dies. Thus, one has to take precautions so that the plant of devotional service is not disturbed by animals, which presents offense. The most dangerous animal is a mad elephant. For if a mad elephant enters a garden, it causes tremendous damage to plants and trees. An offense to a pure devotee of the Lord is called Vaishnava Apradha, the mad elephant offense. In the discharge of devotional service, an offense to the feet of a pure devotee creates havoc and stops one's advancement. Thus, one has to defend the plant of bhakti by fencing it off properly and taking part not to offend pure devotees. Then the plant of devotional service will be properly protected. An offense to a pure devotee is one of the 10 offenses against the holy name. The first offense is to uh, blaspheme the great devotee who had tried to spread the glories of the holy name all over the world. The greatest offense at the feet of the holy name is the rascal who is envious of such devotees. The holy name of Krishna is non-different from Krishna, and the Lord Krishna non-tolerate offense against a pure devotee who, following the order of his spiritual master, is spreading the holy name all over the world. The second offense is to deny that Lord Vishnu is the absolute truth, since there is no difference between the Lord and his name, qualities, forms, and pastimes or activities. One who sees a difference in considered an offender. The Lord begins supreme. No one is equal to a greater than him. Consequently, one who thinks that the name of some demigod is equal to the Lord's name is an offender. The Supreme Lord and the demigod should never be considered one and considered on the same level.
The third offense is to consider the bona fide spiritual master to be a common man. The fourth offense is to blaspheme the Vedic literature, the Vedas, and such corollaries as the Purans. The fifth offense is to consider the glories of the holy name to be exaggerations. The sixth offense is to imagine a perverted meaning of the holy name. The seventh offense is to commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name. It is understood that by chanting the holy name one is freed from sinful reactions. But this does not mean that one should perversely act sinfully on the strength of chanting. That is the greatest offense. The eighth offense is to equate chanting the holy name with religious rituals, austerities, renunciation, or sacrificial performances. Chanting the holy name is as good as associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whereas these pious activities are only means of approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they can also be performed for some material reason. It is an offense to equate them with chanting the holy name. The ninth offense is to preach the glories of the holy name of God to a faithless person. The tenth and last offense is to maintain material attachments even after hearing and chanting the holy name of God. The idea is that by chanting the holy name without offense, one is elevated to the liberated platform where one is freed from all material attachments. Thus, if one chants the holy name and still has material attachments, he is committing an offense.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so we'll continue from this para tomorrow. We'll do Guru Vandana and